Who wants to play bodies, bodies, bodies?
Welcome back to the Haddonfield Horrors podcast. We review horror movies and horror franchises. I'm Mark.
I'm Tawan.
I'm Maria.
And today we're reviewing Bodies, 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 released in 2022. Directed by Helene Rain. Screenplay by Sarah Delap. Story by Kristen Rupin. Maria, can you give the people the plot summary?
This horror comedy that follows Sophie reuniting with her sort of friend group for a hurricane party, bringing along her girlfriend B. With party favors and planning to get through the night, the group decides to play a murder mystery game called Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. All is well until someone is actually killed, and we're now asking if these friends have ever actually been friends with each other while the impending hurricane looms over.
And to answer that question, hell no, they weren't friends. What this was like the weirdest, like the friend group, like just visually, just like did not match. And I was like, this is like the superficial friend group. And I was like, are they all? You know what it was giving me? It was giving me Knives Out too, where you could tell, but the people were like, are they only friends because like this main friend is rich and he brings them all together?
That's pretty much
That's
it.
what I thought was happening. Yeah, and I was like,
It's just they're
that's
all
kind of what I
rich.
get. Yeah, it's like they're all just there for Pete Davis's house. But then at some point, I was like, oh, this movie isn't made for my generation because like they're doing random TikToks and they're using all these terms, and I was like, oh, this is for the Gen Z generation. I keep on forgetting that millennials are has-beens, but
Yeah, y'all.
are you a Gen Z?
They consider Beast Gen Z.
No, you are not Gen Z.
They
That doesn't make any sense.
they do consider they do consider me Gen Z. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
If they consider you Gen Z, oh my god. Oh my god.
Because
Okay,
like
now. Now.
because like that range of like of 97 to like 99 is like a gray area where we could be either or both. Honestly, people don't consider us millennials though, but because like millennials are like older, but we're we're like, okay, are we Gen Z? And
If
then
you can remember where you were at 9/11 and you are a millennial.
well, then I don't remember that. I was probably at
Oh my
I was
god.
probably at home because I mean I was like 4.
Oh my god. Well, give us your thoughts on the movie overall, Tuan.
Well, I personally like this movie a lot. I was looking forward to it, when it came out last year, because it came out during the festival, like the film festival circuit, which I like follow. Some like whatever's like popping just to see if I want to catch it later on when it eventually comes out. And this was one that got like a lot of good reception, and then like reading into it and what the receptions were and what people were saying about it, I was definitely interested. And when I initially saw it, I liked it a lot actually, and I'm giving it a couple of rewatches since. I actually got this one on DVD too. But overall, I liked the movie. I thought the best part about it was the cast, um, especially Rachel Sennett, who was um, she was Alice. She's fucking hilarious. She was probably like my favorite character in the movie, just because of like her timing with the comedy and whatnot. Um, but I also just thought it was really good in showcasing like these type of friend groups, because you see people like this all the time in real life, like who are so-called friends, but they're not really at the same time. And you look at some relationships like that and you're like, how are you guys like even cool with each other? But it's just kind of like that, I guess, like a proximity thing. Like people have either been around each other for so long that they just like gravitate towards each other, whether they still like them when they like them as much as they first did. And in this instance, it's like a whole friend group where they have like all this underlying stuff, and instead of bringing things up and talking about it early on, they kept it held up, and now they're in a stressful situation, and everything is just coming out all at once. And add on top of that, bodies ending up in the house as well. That and now they're trying to figure out like, oh, was one of their friends actually a killer? So I definitely liked everything overall. The setting to get them where they were was good as far as like a I think it's called like a bottle film. Like, they're in one location, so they can't really leave because of like the hurricane and everything. So that all worked out really good for it. So overall, I personally like this movie.
What about you, Maria? What are your thoughts? This was your first watch, correct?
Honestly, when it first came out, I wasn't really interested in watching it. Um, I mean, it just looked exactly like it was gonna be, like a comedy horror. Um, but like it is pretty good. I liked the twist ending, to be honest. I know some people just didn't, but I did. I thought it's like, because like Tawan, I guess I'm also in between of Gen Z and millennial. Um, yeah, I thought the movie was really entertaining. I liked how it was just kind of like, yeah, how it's like a dark comedy and it's like satire, and I feel like the characters were portrayed really, really well. Um, and I kind of like how, I mean, it was funny. Like I had funny moments. It had its moments that I thought were like hilarious. Um, yeah, I mean, I liked it overall. I mean, would I watch it again? Probably not, to be honest. Um, it was a funny watch when I had to watch it. Like I enjoyed it, but it's probably something I wouldn't revisit.
I don't know what I was expecting, but like this was also my first watch, and I enjoyed it. I laughed a lot. There were some jump scares in there for me, and it was pretty good. It was like an interesting cast, even though I don't know. I didn't recognize anyone but Pete Davidson. I'm sorry if these are like well-known actors or actresses. I just did not know anyone but Pete,
You didn't
and
watch Hunger Games?
I did.
That, that
That's
that's
the
Rue.
little black girl from Hunger
Yeah,
Games.
that's Baby
Oh,
Rue.
I feel old as shit. She was like shit. I was in high school when that came out, and that was a whole single digit kid actor.
That's
She
Baby Rue.
fucking nah. Oh shit. This definitely wasn't for me then. But well, besides those two, I recognized no one else, but they were all great. The chemistry was there, and I want to jump onto the scenes because I loved all the scenes with their friends, like trying to learn their dynamic, and like you slowly start to see how they actually felt about each other. Like when Pete Davidson was going after Emma, like I felt so awkward in that situation.
Mhm.
I was like, you were saying all these words about your girlfriend to your girlfriend in front of all of y'all friends, like I wanted to punch him. I wanted one of those girls to like hit him in the balls or something. Like, don't talk to her like this. But then, like seeing the friend, that scene when we got to the end and it was Jordan, Emma, no, not Emma, Jordan, Sophie, B, and Alice.
Mhm.
When they were just like they're at the end and like Jordan and Sophie were going back and forth, and then she was like, "Yeah, you hate Alice and you hate our podcast. Oh, we actually everyone hates you, Jordan. Oh yeah, me and Sophie, fuck." That whole little interaction was just like it was good. And then I was like, damn, is Jordan about to snap? And then she fucking shot the chick in her leg, and I was like, oh shit, she snapped. I didn't like Greg. I don't know what what Greg was for, but like they could have all his scenes are weird because like this man's like 40 and she's clearly haven't even graduated college yet. Like, why is he here? Why are you with these 20 somethings when you're fucking getting ready to get your AARP card?
I mean, I feel like that was the whole point about Greg, Like he was supposed to be the 40-year-old that's still hanging out with 20-year-olds because they have similar interests, you know?
Do
And well,
they?
cuz he's very much into like meditation and all about, he apparently is out here also partying, just like they are. Um so I feel like that's why he's there. You know what I
I'm
mean?
not
Like
partying with
he's
no
not
40-year-old if
ready.
he ain't got no money.
Well, we don't know if
I mean, well,
did they.
I
I
mean,
don't think they ever said if he did or not, but I'm inclined to assume maybe not.
Actually, going off that, do we know what any of them like does for work? Like I know Jordan's parents are middle class and they're professors, but like do any of them work?
I don't think any of them mentioned working besides B,
Hmm.
and we know why for her. But the rest of them, I think they're just all supported by their parents.
Maria, were there any scenes that stood out for you? Good, bad, or indifferent?
Well, I mean, I agree with what you said. The scenes where like the friends are ripping into each other, whether it's like passive aggressively or not. Because it's like, I mean, it's entertaining to watch. It's like a little mini drama going on. Um, the scene where, yeah, like where Pete is like saying shit to Emma, which I mean, it sucks, and it's I feel like it's even worse for her that nobody's saying anything to her. But I feel like, yeah, I feel like Pete is the like the main guy in the group. You know, I mean, they're at his house, and it's a really nice house. So I can also see why nobody said anything. It still sucks because that guy's obviously a dick. Um, the scene, oh, like the scene where he punches Greg, and Greg is like, yeah, where he like punches Greg, which apparently was real, and it was so funny because
Really?
he didn't have to punch him like that. Oh yeah, apparently it was real. Like apparently the
Honestly, that
cast
makes more
wanted to
sense
like,
because it looked like he had him on. Like even like they
Is
showed
that why
it.
everyone looks shocked?
Probably.
yeah, I guess. Well, I mean, he didn't do it like for real, like like David didn't do it like on the spur of the moment. Like Lee or Pace, Greg told him to like to to hit him. You know, so it's because like during that scene, the cast wanted the slaps to look more real. So at first they kind of like wanted to do like actual slaps, which isn't in the movie because apparently it didn't look real enough. But I don't know. But the punch was though. The punch was real.
Mhm.
Oh my.
So that scene, because it was funny, you know, because it plays into their whole dynamic. You know, Greg is older, but he's also cooler. But
Mhm.
David, you know, is used to being the alpha in the group, I guess. So he obviously feels intimidated. So he takes a chance to punch
Is he
Greg
the
in the
alpha
face.
in the group because he's the only? Well, we never saw Max, but like, is that why he's the alpha, or because he has money?
I think
Probably
because he
both.
has money and because he's like a dick. Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, so that scene, and then like Greg gets up, which I feel like it's the perfect like it's perfect when an older person comes into like a group full of like young people. Because Greg he's like, I'm just gonna take the mature road and leave. But he's obviously pissed. Like, I'm pretty sure Greg could have taken David, but he decides not to because they're kids. And it's like, yeah, why are you hanging out with these kids, Greg? But whatever, I guess. Oh, and on the topic of Greg, when he's like, has like a sleep mask on and the girls go in there like after David's dead and the girls go in there and he like still thinks that they're playing a game so he starts chasing them
Mhm.
and they all start like he thinks it's a game but they're over here like screaming because they're like
That was so
genuinely
funny.
terrified.
That was so funny.
Yeah, it was like poor, I don't know, it was just the whole context of it was really funny. What else? Oh yeah. Oh, like the scene with Sophie, Jordan, and B, and like Jordan looks really unhinged, but then B ends up throwing her over the balcony, which I thought was so cool. Like I don't know, I thought it was cool of B to do that. Um, but then like Jordan tells her to look through her phone, which I don't know what she's supposed to find there. Which
The
it kind of
text
sucks that.
she was looking for the text between Jordan and Sophie.
But it's just so funny. That's the last thing she says as she dies. Like, I'm pretty sure there are other things more important. Um, and then like the last scene where like Max comes and Well, no, well, yeah, well, that scene where like Sophie and B are like fighting over the phone instead of the gun, and then like and then Max comes and everything turns on, and B's like, "Oh, I have signal now," and it's like people are dead.
Honestly, I like that one too.
Same. Like that whole sequence though, like that whole ending, once they like they stop fighting once they realize it's not her phone, then to just like when they pushed open his eyes so they can unlock his phone, I was like, oh my god, no. And then when we learned that the whole movie happened because this fucking idiot was trying to like
That
one up
that
Greg,
was the
it got
funniest shit. That is one of my favorite scenes. Like that was some funny ass shit right there, because I was not expecting that to be to be the catalyst of it all, but it made it so much better because I could see the shit happening for real with the way people like die doing like shit online for
stupid viral
bro, like
challenges.
it was so funny when that like the theater was cracking up when that shit happened.
I was like, oh my god, what? I was like, and then all then to follow that with Max showing up, and he's like, what happened? Like it was just like that whole like ending was like, oh my god, this was all worth it, and it was all dumb as shit. But Tuan, what other scenes stood out for you? Good, bad, or indifferent?
Yeah, I think besides the ending, like showing what happened with David, I think the other scene of mine that was my favorite was when Sophie B, Jordan, and Alice were all talking together towards the end, and like were arguing at that point. And Sophie told Alice that Jordan hate listens to her podcast, and she got so offended. And then when she brought up like then when B asked her what she talked about on it, she said like you're smartest and best friends or some shit like that. And then Jordan just like snarled at her. That was so funny, and like that whole the way that all worked out. That the way they acted in that scene was just perfect. The way it like carried itself out. Love that one. Um, and also that sequence that Maria mentioned when they went to go confront Greg because they thought that he killed David. We just due to how we know, we know a certain amount, and he doesn't know what we know at this point. So, he's reacting as if the game was still going on, and it was just funny the way it played out because they were genuinely scared while he was just playing the game still. So that was funny in itself. Um, Besides that, I don't think there were any other scenes that like stood out for me. But yeah, I would say that's about it as far as ones that like I remember off the top of my head that like I really liked.
What about the kills? Any kills stood out for you?
Um, probably probably Alice's kill, even though it was with a gun. I would say the only reason it stood out was one what happened like how we got to that point with Jordan just finally like snapping and like shooting her, but also the banter that they were having when they were all trying to get the gun from each other. It was just really funny. But yeah, that was a good one. And then of course David's kill, how he killed himself, like that was just the funniest thing ever to me. How that all played out because I was really when I first watched it, I was definitely with them and thinking that it was probably Greg who did it because like if I was in that situation in my mind, I could see him being most the one to do it, him or maybe Emma if she like was eventually just fed up all the way. But I could definitely see Greg doing it just because.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say because and then continue. Oh my. But what about you, Maria? Any kills that stood out? Good, bad, or indifferent?
Well, I mean, the first one's obviously Keats. because yeah, he fucking killed himself, which ended up causing all these other people to, it's just so funny because it's like the first thing that came to their minds when Pete was dead was murder. Like nobody even like, which I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense. I doubt anybody there is, a professional. I mean, I probably would have thought the same thing too, just because. Um, but it's like, it was just so funny. Like I was not definitely not expecting that. Not expecting that it was fucking David who killed himself and that caused all these other people to accidentally die, really. Um, I didn't really like Emma's death though. I feel like her death was really like, I mean, we didn't even really get to see how she died.
Hmm.
She was just, you're kind of just to assume that she was just too fucked up to walk up the stairs and then falls down the stairs, which I mean, I get. Um, I also liked, I really liked Jordan's death, when like she's fighting Sophie and then she has to like and then B, drops her down the balcony and she falls pretty hard, like on the glass table out of everything. And like her last words are like, the what she decides to say is look through her phone, look at her messages. Like for what? Like, ma'am, you're dying. Um, but yeah, I think other than that, I mean, I don't think the other kills were really like they didn't really pop out to me, I
Hmm.
guess.
It definitely, David's accidental kill. That was just insane, and I agree with you about Jordan's death. That was like that whole sequence was amazing. It was like what the fuck. Alice's death mostly because of the same reasons you said, Tuan. Like that whole like back and forth between the three of them as they fall over the gun, and then she got shot. It was just like what the fuck. Um, Still confused about Emma's death, but whatever. Um, I don't know. They were all interesting, but there were definitely some that were just like, I guess. But what about the characters? Let's talk about. Let's start with Emma. Maria, what are your thoughts on Emma?
Um, I mean, I felt bad for her. I don't know what they're trying to do with her character, but like, I felt bad about the way like Pete was treating her, and she was just kind of. I mean, she just seemed a little because she was a model, wasn't she? Like in the movie, or no, she was an actress.
Was it a
Um,
movie or a play? I don't think they ever really did. They ever really tell us what it was?
I don't think they said what it was. I think they just said actress, or at least if I'm not recalling. But I do just remember her being an actress, though.
well, I mean, I think she was trying to like, I guess, portray that. And I feel like she did like a really good job. Because she seemed kind of like, I guess, vain, and like a little like dumb, which I think kind of worked out. I guess that was the whole point, especially the whole like Gen Z satire they were trying to go for.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I liked her character. I don't think she was as like insufferable as like everybody else. Um, but yeah.
Tuan, what are your thoughts on Emma?
Yeah, I thought Emma was okay. She definitely, and I hate to have to agree, but she definitely seemed like one of those people who were easily influenced, kind of like how David mentioned how like everything that she was bringing up were just probably shit that she learned online and maybe didn't have like the best, definitions of, but we're using the words to like portray. But David was like giving it and like giving like doing a lot of the shit that she was mentioning, but I did feel like she wasn't really aware of all this like stuff that she was like saying about him. But either way, he was being a douche to her, and I felt like she probably was just sticking around with him because of him being like rich and whatnot. Because I don't know if it was said to her if her family was also rich or not, compared to the other ones. So, and because we only knew her as his girlfriend, maybe that was probably a reason that she was like sticking around and maybe dealing with him. So, if if that was the case, and like the story in the story that they were doing with her character, felt bad for her with that. Um, and she also was just the quickest to break down as well. Like she went into basically just go hide after everything started happening, and wasn't obviously not like many people wouldn't be good in like this type of situation, but she was one who kind of just like shut down, and um, that's kind of what I got most out of her character. Is she couldn't handle like the stress of whatever of the environment that they were in, and she just had to shut down because there was nothing else that she thought of doing.
Yeah, I felt sorry for Emma. I could tell that they all had like low opinions of her. They probably think that she was too smart, and like David treated her like ass. So I was like, huh. And she did have like the most realistic reaction when everything started. She had a reaction that I had, that I would have. Like, I would be freaking out. I'd be fucking hiding because I don't trust any of you people. Like, get the fuck up off me. I'd be hysterical. So I kind of felt sorry for Emma. But Maria, what are your thoughts on Alice?
Um, well, she also seemed pretty like vain, I guess, but like, cause like I think there was like a couple scenes where like she would be asking people like, "Oh, like, are you talking about me? Like, is this about me?" And which I guess was the whole point of her character. Because there are some people out there like that, where they think that every closed conversation is about them. Did they ever say what she did for a living?
No, I think she was just a student.
I see. But yeah, I mean, she was kind of funny. I feel like she had like really good one-liners in here.
She did.
And I think her actress improvised a lot, but she did such a great job. Um, I still don't think her character was as bad. Maybe she was like very bitchy, but like, I mean, but to be fair, it's a whole fucking cast of like a whole group of mean girls. Like that was really the whole point. Um, but yeah, I don't really have, I guess, strong opinions about Alice.
Tuan, what are your thoughts on Jordan?
Jordan, if there, I don't. I would say if there was like a villain, I would say Jordan was closely like the villain. Now I don't want to claim anyone as the villain because, mm, well, no, Jordan did actually kill somebody, but he was the most, I would say, the worst out of all of them in a sense because she obviously had some like underlying issues with herself, and even with the group as a whole because like her like how I think it was Sophie well I think it was Alice actually who mentioned it, how she only got into like the school because her parents worked there. Like they're like lower middle class or upper middle class, something like that. And she definitely had like some underlying issues with that just due to how the group probably treated her. And also how Sophie treated her as well, like not taking into account her like her and their like relationship, and then also how Sophie acted when she OD'd and stuff like that. So I could see how she had those underlying things, but she was she like opposite of Emma, how Emma just like shut down. Jordan went on a was in like a whole different mind state in it, like trying to take charge and then being the accuser. Then when she was the accused, like she didn't like she was like denying everything, which we know she hadn't done anything, but the way she was going about it was not the right way that she not the right way I felt she should have did it. And once we got towards the end and she had the gun in her possession, like that's when she kind of became more of the, I would say, like the opposition in that sense. But she also wasn't a liar. I would say her character also wasn't a liar because she was definitely telling the truth with a lot of things. Maybe she was withholding the truth of certain things, like with Alice and talking about the podcast and stuff like that. And I feel like most people tend to do stuff like that if they're friends. Like you maybe give like criticism, but maybe not the roughest criticism. But but also going behind their back and talking about it though, that's kind of like that's like a no go. That's like really bad to do. So she definitely like showed kind of good things in herself, but also a little bit of bad as well. And Sophie didn't help at all by, um, using her to basically cheat as well.
Maria, what are your thoughts on Greg?
I mean, I can see what Greg like why he was what he was trying to portray, I guess, because there are some older people um trying to fit in with Gen Z because they are not ready to, I guess, grow up, which to me that's what Greg seemed like. I know they were trying to make him seem like as the mature guy because he's older, but it's like you're 40, sir, and you're hanging out with like a bunch of 20-year-olds. And yeah, he was over here partying. Like, I mean, not saying that obviously if you're older you don't, you know, like you don't get to party, but it's like it's a little different when you're around such young people. Um, but like, and he was just kind of weird, I guess, just kind of creepy. Honestly, his whole dynamic with him and like David was just kind of funny. Um, I think that was like the best out of like everything really because it's like I don't know, they just didn't have to go at each other like that. I mean, it was mostly David, but Greg was just kind of like I'm pretty sure if Greg had the chance, he could really like hurt David, but decides not to. For the sake of what? I don't know. But I mean, he was just like the older guy there that thinks he's better than everybody else just because he's older. But it's like, you're no better than these kids who are over here doing drugs because you yourself are doing these things. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, he was just kind of like an older old creep, I guess, with a house full of youngins, and it was kind of weird. I mean, I thought it was funny that out of like, I feel like he had a lot of screen time, really. And to be honest, yeah, he would also be my first suspect. I'd be like, you know what, it's Greg, especially because the relationships and like this whole movie were so short. Like I think B and Sophie knew each other for like 6 weeks.
Hmm.
Greg and that other girl were together for like 2 weeks. I think it was like they were so
Yep.
short. Like yeah, like honestly, B and Greg would have been my first. They would be number one on my suspect list.
Which makes sense, honestly. Like the two newest people who like would be the ones you would first think of, honestly.
I second that. But Tuan, what are your thoughts on Max?
From what we were given, which was only a little bit, it definitely. I definitely would have liked to see what would happen if Max was with them because we definitely like got information. I think it was from Alice, who I think was either telling Sophie or B, the whole argument that happened the night before with I think it was Max, David, and Emma. Because if I recall, wasn't Max trying to? He was trying to get at Emma, correct?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So if that, yeah, with that being the case, then that is kind of shady. Even though David is not really good to Emma, which we saw, that doesn't give like you as his friend to try to get with his girl who he's not even like broken up with yet. It's not like they're exes.
He told Emma he loved
Yeah.
her.
And and that's definitely like not like if you're trying to be if that's your friend, even in a drunken state, that's your like mind, that's your actual like conscious, not conscious mind, but like um back of your head talking out loud. And if you're giving that type of thought, like some intention behind it, with telling like Emma and or David, whoever he told when he was in a drunken state, then that's obviously not like a good friend move, and just adds on to the fact of their friend group being messed up than it already was.
Yep, I can agree with that. But Maria, what are your thoughts on David?
Like he was funny. He was a dick, but I thought he was funny. I think Pete portrayed him very, very well. And I mean, also, it's just the fact that he died the way he did, just because he wanted to outdo Greg, and at the same time he was filming it for TikTok. It was just so perfect. I don't know. It's just something about that. It's just so funny. Like of course you died like that. Um, but I mean, I guess it's interesting that he was the one who brought them there together, and it seems that he is kind of like the glue of the whole friend group, really. Like the reason they all come to see him is, yeah, because of his plays. And Sophie, after ghosting everyone for so long, she only really goes to the party to see Greg, which is like her best friend. And then, and it's also, because of Greg that people start dying, really, which is so funny. He's just like the start of everything. Um, but I mean, he wasn't as insufferable as everybody else was. Um, he definitely had his moments, but I mean, I don't know. Pete Davidson just makes everything funny, so I liked the character overall.
Yeah, I was glad that he wasn't in it for. I don't know. I was glad that he wasn't in it for a long lot. Like in my mind, I thought I definitely thought he was gonna be in this movie for a while because Pete Davidson can be hit or miss for me when it comes to movies, but he definitely was good with this character and the way he was supposed to be portrayed, um, and it definitely worked out for him doing like this type of role. And he was yeah, I definitely agree with you that he's like the glue that like kept it together. It reminds me of what Mark said earlier about like Knives Out. He's kind of like the Miles Braun of the group. Like he's like the main one, but he's probably the most douchiest one out of all of them. And they're all like kind of douches in their own way, but he's like the main one. But he keeps everybody together and possibly in check, but still like like ruling or being the group leader with kind of like an iron fist in a way. And he and it's just so funny, like Maria said, that he died the way he did because he was just trying to one up somebody else who one up him earlier. And it's what's even funnier about it is that if he did, like get the TikTok with that he was recording, trying to like get the I think it's called like sparing or spading the bottle, something like that. However, he was trying to do it. Like, what would even been the end goal? It's like, okay, you did it, so I guess whatever it was, he just practicing so he could like try to do it in front of them. Like, I like what would even have been the end goal with that?
Yeah, seeing that Pete Davidson was in the movie definitely scared me a bit because I've seen his SNL stuff and I've seen him in the Suicide Squad. I've seen like bits and pieces, but I've never seen a movie that was completely starring Pete Davidson. I haven't seen any of those Hulu movies he did during COVID. I saw none of that. I don't know, but this was actually pretty good, and I think it does help that we don't get that much time with David. And I feel like of that entire friend group, we always knew the kind of person David was. Like he was the only one whose personality was shown from the first scene. Everyone else you kind of like have to learn and figure out as you go through, but David was the pretentious, wealthy, alpha male wannabe guy. That's who like you first introduce it to him as. That's why he dies. He's the only one you like 100% know, in my opinion. But Tawan, what are your thoughts on Sophie?
Oh, Sophie. Sophie is a I would say interesting like case of a character because she definitely had she definitely had like some good points in certain things she was talking about. I think it was with David she talked about it with, or yeah, I think it was with David when she was talking about how she got put in rehab and nobody like really checked up on her, and like how the black girl basically got put up for like substance use even though like everybody else is still like doing the same thing and like has all this shit or like around now. One, I can't say that she had much say in what they were doing at this party because she didn't say that she was coming, she did just pop up, so them having like coke and whatever around at that time wasn't really something that they like saw ahead of. But I did like that point that she mentioned in her little talk with him, and it I think my main thing with all of this is it just really makes me wonder like why she even wanted to come back to this group of people if she so deep down felt that um they weren't like supporting her or doing anything for her. And it kind of goes back to what I mentioned earlier. It's kind of like that proximity thing of people been friends with some people for so long that they'll still deal with them, like kind of like no matter what, in a sense. And she's definitely like one of those people because she could have easily just like after they didn't check in on her or do anything like that, she could have just not been chill with them anymore, or done the adult thing and either one by one or all together try to talk it out and whatnot. So that didn't really happen. And then also she was a bad girlfriend because she cheated on B with Jordan and withheld that information obviously. And this is probably the worst way that your partner could find out that you're cheating on them, while people are just ending up dead after a while.
Yeah, for me, the whole like I'm with B. I definitely do think that her and Jordan hooked up. Like, why would Jordan lie as she dies? To be honest, that's something I would do. To make one more controversial statement, stir up some drama from the grave. I mean, it can go either way. But I kind of wanted to see more of her like relationship with David because when she introduces him to B, she says, "Oh, this is my bestest friend David," and that like that little conversation she had when she was talking about being in rehab and he was talking about how he's much better than Greg. Like I could kind of see it, but I kind of wanted to see more of it. I'm like, oh, I can see how they're best friends. Like they can really talk to each other and get deep. And I kind of just wanted to see more of that. I also wanted her to have a bigger reaction when they found David dead. I was like, I needed more. If you're his super best friend, then I need you to be giving me more. But overall, I think she was really cool and she fit in like with the rest of the group. I personally wouldn't have went to go find any of those people, but sometimes you're drawn to your friends even when they're fucking crazy. But what about you, Maria? What are your thoughts on David? I mean, Sophie. What about you, Maria? What are your thoughts on Sophie?
I mean, I kind of feel like because we had talked about how like you never really knew everybody's personality until like later on, and I feel like that's kind of true for Sophie. I feel like Sophie was purposely trying to portray herself as this like really great girlfriend, and that like she's better than like everybody else. Well, not better than everybody else, but like like she's not partaking in the whole party part of the whole night, because everybody was doing their thing, you know, doing drugs and drinking and stuff. And Sophie was like, "No, I just got out of rehab," just for her to end up doing it later on that night. Um, which I mean makes sense because it is a very stressful situation. Uh, I don't know. I don't know if it's just me, but I just feel like you know what they say like, fuck, what's that goddamn saying about like something about the birds and how they flock together, something
Oh, birds of a feather flock
like
together.
yeah, like I feel like she was friends with them for so long for a reason. I feel like everybody else, is like a mean girl in their own way, and I think that still kind of rings true for Sophie.
Hmm.
Um, Especially because like but like she just hit it well compared to everybody else. She wasn't like in your face saying all these things about like other people and trying to create drama and trying to get attention and stuff like that. But I feel like she still wasn't a great person, especially because she cheated on uh on B with Sophie, and then continued to lie over and over again, which I think is really interesting because Jordan herself, after she like shot Alice, and they're like, "Oh my God, like did you just do that?" And she was like, "No." Like,
Yeah, that
you know what I
accountability.
mean? Yeah, and I just feel like Sophie, I mean, yeah, sure, she wasn't as bad as everybody else, but I still feel like she wasn't above them either, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
those are my opinions.
it's really like a proximity thing. Like some people, like they just like once they get in with a certain group of people, like everybody hates change, especially when it comes to like people that you like mess with like that. Especially having to find like a whole new friend group and shit like that. A lot of people would rather just deal with the shitty people that they know than to go to try to find like newer people to either hang with or whatever.
Yeah, I get that, but I want to talk about B. Like there was so much that I want to know about B. Like what did they ever explain? Like why her mom was so worried or like that whole relationship? Did I miss it? Was that explained?
If I recall, she said that her mom I think she has borderline personality disorder.
Oh, because I'm not like she was awkward the whole time, and like Maria said, like bitch would have been my like first suspect, like her over Greg, because I was like, we've been here with Greg already. Greg could have been popped us off, like the day before, like the night before. Like why would he cheat? Like he was gonna kill us and cover with the storm. He did the night before, like whatever. Like B would have been the first person I suspected. Like first, she was getting all cutesy and dancing with Jordan. I was like, wait, like back the fuck up. Like what's happening right now? Why are you all up on this girl? Like you're on your girl's girl. Like back up. But like overall, like she was the mystery element that kind of like brought the movie together. Because when they put her outside in the rain, I was kind of like, yes, we don't know this bitch either. We didn't know Greg, and we damn sure don't know B. So I was here for it. But what about you, Maria? What are your thoughts on B?
I mean, I agree. She was like a, you know, like like a mystery element to like the whole thing. And yeah, like she was just obviously very like impressionable, just kind of doing what everybody else wanted to do, and she just like went with the flow. And honestly, I feel like she was just also just kind of there. Like I don't think she really like did anything until the end. You know what I mean? Like I feel like in the beginning it was mostly, Jordan trying to take charge and everybody else just kind of freaking out. And B was just like, okay. And it wasn't until like the end when she like started fighting for herself and for Sophie. Which I mean, as she should, because after figuring out all that, but I just feel like I don't know. I feel weird if I was to go like on this little mini retreat with my girlfriend's friends that she like hasn't seen in a while apparently, that she ghosted. I don't know. I mean, I personally wouldn't have gone because clearly there's some issues going on there, but that's just me. But I don't know. B was just kind of like I know she was supposed to be like a final girl, but she never really gave me much, like in general.
Hmm. I'm trying to. I liked B's character, and I do see why like she would be like considered a suspect with her being new. But I also will say that's a lot on Sophie for putting her in this situation, not in the situation of somebody ended up dead, but putting her in this awkward ass friend group situation. Like Sophie definitely would have known that Jordan was going to be here, and she also knows that she didn't alert anyone that she was going to come. So you just pull up to the party with your new girlfriend, and then now your girlfriend's got to sit through like this awkward shit with your friends who aren't the most welcoming people.
And she's getting slapped by strangers. Like I don't care what the game is, but you're not slapping me. I just met you.
And it was just not like a situation to like bring your new like partner into. Like obviously like you want your partner to meet like your friends and stuff, but these are not the friends that you want your partner to meet though. Like this is not that's just like not the right time and place. So like I get like the awkwardness coming from B, and I just felt like she was trying to do with what she had with the situation. And yeah, it's her, and like I guess I get why she was constantly like checking in with her mom and stuff, because if I recall, she had to drop out of school so that she could take care of her. And um that kind of like goes into like some of the lies that she told Sophie, which I get why you wouldn't want to tell anybody, like, immediately, that type of thing of, you having to like drop out of school, and then that your mom has like borderline personality disorder. Like if you don't want to tell anybody that, like, like right away, like that's understandable. But in this situation, because of everything else that was happening, all that info compounding against you could definitely make you look like you're someone who like snapped. But I think the part where most annoyed me with everyone was after she killed Greg, and they like turned on her. Basically, it was like, oh, like what if she did it? Like she just killed Greg, and it's like, okay, now y'all was about to go in there and confront Greg and possibly kill him yourselves, but because B is the new person in this, and she killed him when he was literally attacking y'all.
The last one in is the crazy bitch, and we gotta get rid of her. I completely agree with
No,
it.
I don't.
We don't know Shorty.
No,
We don't
I
know
don't. I
Shorty.
don't
Like
agree in that sense because like they. No, no, no.
what?
Listen. I'm not. I'm not. I get what you're saying, but I'm saying that situation that they had, like, they automatically accused her after like taking out Greg.
But she did it with ease. They was all like, it was a tentative idea that we might have to kill Greg.
He was
But this
literally
bitch act,
on top of one of them, like choking them out.
and then she took him out suspicious.
Not suspicious.
And you're new. You're new.
So it would have been different.
You've been acting weird and
So it would have been
fidgety.
different if it was someone
And
else.
I mean, if it was someone else, I would have had suspicion, but also like, okay, whatever, cool. Like, if it was Sophie because he was attacking Alice, it would have been normal. If it was like any one of them, it would have been normal. I mean, if I see someone attacking you, I'm gonna take their ass out. But like,
I need
it's
anybody to help. Like I ain't.
like I'm a it just it'd be less suspicious of me taking him out because you're my friend and you're in peril. But if it's some random stranger, it's like people are dying and you just went and just killed him.
Yeah,
Suspicious.
I don't see it that way. Like it's in the sense of, what they also were trying to trade, because Greg is like 6 foot tall, like guy, and like at this point now, like he's attacking a group of girls. Like one of them has to go to action, and like she went to action first because. I mean, if she didn't, like either somebody like she was, Alice was gonna die.
She was too quick and enthusiastic.
Don't I wouldn't say it was enthusiasm. I would
I
say
I
it was
mean I
peril.
agree with Tuan.
It was peril, not enthusiasm.
Both could be,
But
interchangeable.
she
She
did
could
not.
have
She literally
been,
threw up right
and
after she did that.
that could have been performed.
No, I'm not.
Whatever. It
Nah,
could have.
stop. She literally threw up
That
right
could have
after.
been. That could have been performative. Oh wait, no, she wasn't the actress. Okay, never mind. Never mind. Continue.
But yeah, I just but outside of all of that, I get why she would be like a suspect, like being the new person, and no one knows who she is, and especially they did look her up, and the information that she gave them wasn't matching, which also adds to it. But like not wanting to tell like these people that you just met that, oh, my mom has borderline personality disorder and I just dropped out of school so I could take care of her, and I'm working a dead end job. Like it, like you don't have to like tell all of that to some people that you just met up front, which is understandable. So I get the, I get where the what's the word I'm looking for. I get where they were coming from with being suspicious of B, but at the same time, I was giving her the benefit of the doubt because she was new to this situation as well. And Sophie didn't do her any favors by just tossing her in here with the wolves, basically.
Right. Even if you want to like introduce her to your friends, this wasn't the time or event to do it. Like, I don't want. Don't introduce me to your friends when we're put in a situation where I can't escape
Literally.
or we can't escape each other. You literally put this woman in a position where she could not leave because a fucking storm was coming and she could have died if she stormed out. And you put her in a situation where like your friends are super drunk and super high and you're fighting in front of each other. Like, and that's something you take your partner to after y'all have been together for like 2 months and they're pretty much locked in. But at that point, they should have already met your friends to kind of get a feel. Don't take me camping with these people if I ain't never met them before. Like, that's the rule. Like, we ain't going to camping on no trips or to a cabin unless I've known them and I've seen them for a total of 10
Yeah,
times.
and just also like being transparent with what to expect. Like she was giving her kind of like the rundown of each one, but also like you don't know if like this girl was possibly also maybe like an addict previously, and you just put her in a situation where you know there's about to be drugs, alcohol, and all this shit. Like you give all the details up front, and then let the decision be made, which it didn't seem like Alice did. She just like tossed. She just like popped up, "Hey, we're here," and knowing that it's like a little bit of like other stuff going on with the rest of them. So she,
Yeah, and she didn't even tell her like that the house was like a really nice house, because I remember like they pulled up and like B goes and she sees it and she's like, oh my god, like this is super nice. So she goes back into the car to fix her makeup, because she wanted to look presentable as she should. But yeah, the thing that this is why I feel like Sophie is just as much of a mean girl as everybody else is, because it's like she literally just gave her no context, you know, and just brought her. And I feel that she brought her like on purpose, for
hmm
like a lot of different reasons. But it's like, yeah, she gave her nothing. Like everything B had to figure it out by herself, which kind of really sucks.
the cat said
Yep. Right. The cat agrees with Maria. Like, yep.
period.
But yeah, I agree, Maria. Just like she just threw that woman into like the lion's den. So I did say her being fidgety and like antsy all night made her suspicious, but also thinking about that she's was thrown into this. She meets these friends who are all immediately going after each other. And can I repeat, they were playing a game in which she was being slapped by people she just met. Like, no, that's not happening. That's not allowed. But before we hop over to our behind the scenes info and facts, quick question. Because I was going to Google it, but I was like, no, I'll just wait till we get a recording. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Is that an actual game, or was this like something just made up for
I
the
think.
movie?
Well, the game itself, like that they play, it's just like a general like murder mystery thing that I feel people do. I think they probably just named it that themselves, possibly. um, or just for the movie. But the style of game in general that they are playing is like one that I've seen before. I forget what it was called because I did something like that in college in like the dorm. Yeah,
Mafia?
yeah, that's what it was. Kind of like it's kind of like that basically, like murder mystery type of thing. And I guess they just named it that for this project.
Like Clue.
Yeah.
Second question. Would you guys play Bodies, Bodies, Bodies?
Yes. Slapping included.
Maria?
I wouldn't. I'm too paranoid for that. I'd be the
I
person
don't
who's
want
out.
to. I don't want to get like
I would be the person who's over here blaming everybody. Like I'm blaming everybody and their mom. Like I would be like, it was you. I knew it was you. And then as they
I want to
die, I'd
play
be like, no,
Among
no, it
Us
was
with
you for
Maria now.
real. Yeah, I'm not.
I'm good with everything but the slapping because I know my reflexes. You slap me, I might punch you, and then we gonna be fighting. And it's like I'm sorry, but like I get hit, I punch. I'm so sorry. So I couldn't play. But I was just interested in like knowing that this was an actual game. And I'm just old as shit, and I don't know what the new
Yeah, I
hit
never
games
heard
are.
anybody actually like talk about playing it. I'm sure there are people playing it now that this movie is out. Oh yeah, and I did want to mention one thing before we moved on. When um when B told like the group of them, Alice, Jordan, and Sophie, that her mom had borderline, and Alice followed up with, "Oh, I have body dysmorphia." That shit sent me so much.
I started laughing
That
hysterically.
shit sent me so much. I'm like, girl.
I had to click. I had walked away, and then I came back on that part, and I was like, "Why does she suddenly mention she has body dysmorphia?" So then I rewound it, and I was like, Bitch, no, this was
Like
not
she
the
is so
time.
funny. She
This
is
was
so
not
fucking
the
funny.
time. I was like, oh my god, this is not the time. This was that had me historically laughing. Tawan, can you give the people the behind the scenes info and
That I can.
facts?
So, bodies, bodies, bodies. The budget for this movie currently is not listed for us at the moment, but it did pull in a box office of 14 million bucks. Couple interesting facts. Since the film takes place almost exclusively in a dark mansion, with only source of lighting being cell phones, a headlamp, and glow tubes, the cast had to be instructed on how to light the scenes and themselves from cinematographer Jasper Wolf. Wolf proclaimed if any of the cast missed their timing, the scene was unusable, as all you would see is a dark silhouette. And with the latter's consent, Pete Davidson actually punched Lee Pace during the tequila slap scene. Couple critics' reactions. The film currently sits at a Rotten Tomato score of 86%. RogerEbert.com praised the use of music and cinematography to enhance the single location setting. The Hollywood Reporter found the film to be a psychological study of the friendship archetypes in the digital age, while also showing an understanding of the anxieties of 20 somethings, praising the story. Little White Lies instead thought that the film fell apart towards the end because it is a movie that claims to understand how Gen Z treats societal topics. Um, Jacobin gave a negative review of the film, summarizing like so many horror films attempting to subvert bodies, 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 tries to satirize the upper class, but all it delivers are tired, lazy tropes about Gen Z. And main actress Amanda Stenberg messaged a New York Times film critic, Lena Wilson, after Wilson called the film a 95-minute advertisement for cleavage in her review, saying that your review was great, but maybe if you had gotten your eyes off my tits, you could watch the movie. I remember that being the whole thing online.
I missed all of that. I didn't really follow this movie's promotion or anything. Like, I don't think I realized this movie was a thing until you messaged me and was like, "Did you watch Bodies, Bodies, Bodies?" And I was like, "The fuck is that?" Thought it was a porno. But Maria, Tawan, do we cash or pass? Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Maria,
Um, I mean, honestly, the movie was a lot better than I thought it was gonna be. Um, I don't know. I mean, like, I wouldn't go out and buy the movie. I might rewatch it just to show like people the movie. Well, nah, I pass. I feel I don't really see myself rewatching this movie like in any other setting. Maybe besides just to be like, oh, have you seen the movie? Do you want to watch it? But I wouldn't go out of my way to be like, let's go watch Bodies, Bodies, Bodies like right now, you know? So I'll pass. No, I mean over it's a good movie though. Like it is funny. The ending is just so hilarious. It definitely has a lot of really good parts. I just feel like the movie just didn't really stick out to me as much. Compared to like other dark comedy movies. Um, so, but I mean, I'll pass, but I feel like I definitely see it as a cash for other people.
for me, I would say I'm on the fence, like Maria. It's like, would I watch this again? Probably not. Will I look at certain clips on YouTube to get a chuckle? Yeah, probably. But would I sit through the whole movie again? No. But like Maria, if I was like with a group of friends and they're like, "Oh, I've never seen Bodies, Bodies, Bodies," I would like, "Well, yeah, let's watch it." But would I myself go and get it on streaming or buy it or buy rent it on YouTube? No. Like I got a fucking free trial just to watch it for this review. Like I don't want to pay for it. So is it good? Yes. Would I rewatch it? No. So I think I'm gonna. I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle of cash and pass. I can't. I can't pick. I'm in the middle. Tawan, what about you? Are you cashing or
Well,
passing?
seeing as that Tawan already has it on DVD, Tawan is already a cash. um, I like this movie a lot. Um, just because I like one, I love like any like murder mystery type of thing, or trying to figure out like a who done it, like anything like that. Like it's always like up my alley. So I love things like that. So I like this movie, and I like the dynamics of the way the group worked in this movie because it's just one of those things that I've seen with other people, and like seeing it in like a movie where it's a little not elevated but heightened in the way that they were going about everything. It just made it even more funnier to me in that sense, and add in like the element of like who the killer is, and um us trying to figure it out, and then getting to where we got in the end of it being started by someone who ended up killing themselves on accident. I like the whole thing, and especially I also like some of the actors in here as well, the actresses. So I would cash it. I mean, I already bought it, so it's definitely cash. And it's one of those that I definitely like showing people if they haven't seen it, because the twist at the end is always hilarious. Whenever I'm watching it with somebody new, and it's also just a good group watch, like to put on with like a group of people.
Wow, that bring us. Wow, that brings us to the end of this week's episode. But join us next week as we take a dip back into the mind of Jordan Peele as we review his third horror movie, Nope. I'm excited. I like this movie, and I like a good alien movie, and I love the whole vibe. So hope you guys are excited. Is this either one of y'all's first time seeing Nope?
Yeah, I've already seen it.
Glad to get back in, and I love Jordan Peele directed movies, the ones that he directed. Join us next week. Good night. The Haddonfield Horrors podcast is a Letters to Media production.
Should we do an intro?